Hey everybody, welcome back to another video from me to you. In today's video, we're not going to be making any food, we're not going to be traveling, we're not going to be running from zombies or anything like that. Today, I'm just going to talk a little bit about myself and how I went vegan. So if you've already seen the video of how I went vegan, I did make a video a few years back and I posted it to my second channel. So this one obviously is on the main channel. And if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. If you've already seen it, you can click through it. Nothing has changed in my past. Obviously, I haven't been able to make a time machine or anything like that. So today is September 23rd, 2017. And that's significant to me because I went vegan many years ago on September 23rd, 1994. So today marks my 23 years vegan on the 23rd. So I thought that was pretty cool, hence me making this video for you. Where was I on September 23rd, 1994 and what made me go vegan? Okay, well, let's go back in time. We go all the way back to a time when I was 14 years old. It was 1990 and it was March. I was really into martial arts at the time. You know, what young kid wasn't at that time? I don't know what they're into nowadays. But I was into martial arts, and my best friend who lived across the street, his family friend taught a martial art called ninjutsu, and he was really into it. He was like a minimalist and really delved into the lifestyle of ninjutsu. So he decided that he would train us. So he would come into town a couple times a month and we would meet with him and start doing our training. Now he really lived the culture of the ancient ninja. And to me, this was so fascinating that I wanted to do whatever they did. And one day, he had two of my friends and myself meet my friend's basement where we had a table and everything. It was a furnished basement. And he introduced us to three things that day. Well, two things that I've never heard of. And he said that the ancient ninjas predominantly were vegetarian and they didn't eat meat. And he introduced us to tofu, tabbouleh, and then he had some green tea, which I was familiar with. But I had no idea what tofu and tabbouleh were. All I knew was if the ancient ninjas ate this, then I wanted to eat this. The tofu wasn't cooked, it was just raw tofu in the water, and then some tabbouleh. And I tried it, tried the tofu, and it was pretty bland, as you know, if you've had tofu, it's how tofu tastes. However, if I eat tofu now, like plain tofu, it brings me right back to that day. It's like nostalgic. And from that day on, I decided with my two friends that we were going to be vegetarian. And I didn't care what anybody else said, this is what I was going to do. Be a vegetarian. So in a way, it was a fun new challenge in my life because at age 14, you know, I didn't have a job. I could only, you know, do chores around the house or maybe mow a lawn or two. So I didn't have a car, so I couldn't go to the grocery store and buy my own food or anything like that. But when I did go to the grocery store with my mom, I started reading labels, trying to find out what I could eat, what I couldn't eat. And that pretty much marked the time in my life when I started cooking, when I started experimenting in the kitchen and try to figure out what things I could make to eat. Because my parents at the time, they didn't support me, but I was pretty stubborn and I wouldn't do what they said. So for instance, I would come upstairs and say, you know, hey, I'm hungry. And they would say, well, if you ate what the rest of us ate, you wouldn't be hungry. I never gave in and ate it. I didn't want to eat it anymore. I was also a long time, ever since birth pretty much, an animal lover. I loved animals. I would save animals in the neighborhood. I remember seeing I think it was like a woodchuck or something that had been hit by a car but was still alive, and I felt so bad. I was riding my bike home from you know, the small little town that I lived in, and I picked him up and I put him on the handlebars, kind of like E.T., and I rode home and I begged my mom to take him to the vet, so she did. We brought it to the vet, and I don't know what happened to it after that, but I was always trying to help animals and save animals. Obviously, I didn't make the connection back then with the dairy, but with the meat, I figured, you know, you're killing the animal, don't eat the meat. I didn't want to kill the animals. And back in 1990, we didn't have the internet, We didn't have support groups. There was really nothing to learn from. I didn't know any other vegetarians, and I never even heard of the word vegan at that point in my life. The only tattoo that I have on my body is right here. It's a little tattoo on my hand, and my good friend and myself, we put the same tattoo on us. It's a Japanese symbol. We were studying to be, you know, to speak the Japanese language and you know, do the ninjutsu the way they did it, and live the lifestyle of it. And I picked out this. It means ninpo. It's the blade over the heart. It doesn't really look too much like a Japanese symbol. I did it myself with a pin and some India ink. It's the only tattoo I have on my body, and it marks my my going vegetarian at the time. Years started going by, and I started learning more and more about vegetarianism, and I started hearing the word vegan here and there, and I didn't know really anything about it. I just knew that I didn't want to be involved in killing animals. So for instance, I worked at different pizza places and stuff like that, and I could read in the ingredients of the cheese in the pizza. Now, as a vegetarian, I still ate cheese. Certain cheese has a thing called rennet in it, and if we all know, rennet is the lining of a goat or a cow's stomach, meaning that the animal died. So I wouldn't eat any cheese that had rennet in it. I wanted to be a strict vegetarian that didn't kill animals. I didn't know about the dairy industry at this point in my life. As I started learning more and more about this, I didn't know if I was going to be healthy if I went vegan. I didn't know any of these things. And sure enough, there was no way to research this on an internet, because there was no internet, there were no smartphones, there was nothing like that. There were no support groups. There were no companies that certified their products vegan. There were a select few of vegan companies out there, like, you know, Tofurky and some of those older companies that have been vegan for 40, 50 years. But they were far and few between. So we just had to read the ingredients on things that were accidentally vegan back then. And as time went on, I found myself sitting at a Taco Bell here in Syracuse, New York, and I ordered a couple cheese vegetarian burritos. Taco Bell has vegan items and vegetarian items depending on how you order. So I ordered my vegetarian burritos and tacos. As I sat there on September 23rd, 1994, with my tacos at Taco Bell, there were just too many reasons at this point. There was too many reasons to go vegan and no reason not to go vegan. I didn't want to be involved in what I now knew hurt, tortured, and killed animals. I wanted no part of that. I didn't want any of this, what I decided at that point in my life was no longer food, to go into my body. It was disgusting. And I went vegan right there. I didn't tell anybody at the time. I waited a few weeks before I ever told anybody I was vegan. Immediately, within a couple of weeks, I felt a lot better. I was always lethargic as a child, but I was very active. I was very active, always skateboarding, or, you know, doing something on my bike or skateboard, martial arts. But I always ran out of breath a lot. And now I'm like not really, you know, I'm feeling a lot better, and it's noticeable. And I look back to that moment when I was a kid, and I tell myself that it was probably the single best decision I had ever made without knowing it at the time. I mean, it brought me to where I am now, and 23 years later, I'm feeling great, mentally, physically, and like I said, there's so many reasons to be vegan, and I couldn't think of a single reason not to be. I often would tell people that it was, for me, it was a no-brainer. It doesn't matter how long you've been vegan, whether you've been vegan for 30 years or a week. The common goal for most vegans is to inspire others to go vegan. I never wanted to put anybody in a judgmental situation. I don't force it upon anybody. I like that I found a way through the Vegan Zombie to inspire, educate, entertain people to want to go vegan. I want people to want to see the good in it and want to do it for themselves. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to do something, because I never wanted to do something that somebody said that I had to do. If somebody would tell me I have to do this or I have to do that, I would want to rebel. And I feel like a lot of people are like that. So I wanted to come up with a clever way to make people start thinking and want to do something like this. Here I am 23 years later. I am not dead. I am not ill. I am not dying. I am healthy on a vegan diet. I know a lot of people say you can't be vegan. I've heard it, that people say you can't be vegan for the long term because your health is going to take a toll. I have a lot of friends that are vegan almost as long as me, a few friends that have been vegan longer than me, and they're doing great. What else can I add? I was born with something that I was told I would never grow out of. I don't know if it was because of my lifestyle as being straight edge, which means, if you don't know, if you've never heard the term, I don't do drugs, I don't do alcohol, I've never tasted alcohol, I've never tasted coffee, I've never done drugs, I don't take medicine unless I'm, you know, deathly ill and going to die. Like I said, I've said this before, I can't go back in time and live my life a different way and prove that that's why I feel healthy at my age, or, you know, so great mentally and physically. But I would suspect that it has a lot to do with it, and being vegan for that long. Like I said, I felt so much better when I first took meat out of my diet, and then when I went vegan. I was born with a illness that I was told that I would never grow out of, and that was a heart condition. I have pulmonary stenosis, so I believe it was my artery or vein going to my lungs was a little bit too narrow, and that could have been why I was always lethargic and out of breath. But anyway, I was told I would never grow out of this, and going vegan for however many years I was in vegetarian before that, I finally went to a cardiologist in my 20s, and I explained to him, I feel great, can you please check me out and see if I can, because here's the thing, when you have a heart condition like this, for those of you that do, when you know, if you go to the dentist or you do anything like that, you have to pre-medicate on a ton of antibiotics, and I was against that. I did not want to put these in my body, and I was a lot of them, and so anyway, I went to the cardiologist. They looked at my heart through the cardiogram, and sure enough, I was normal. I had outgrown it. I was never to be on the medicine again. I'm just like anybody else as far as my heart goes. So I was very happy about that, and I'm gonna go ahead and credit that to my my lifestyle. I don't know if that's the real reason, but that's a good enough reason for me, living my life very healthy and you know, not putting poison in it. So I guess that's it of me ranting about my veganniversary. If you guys remember the day you guys went vegan, whether it was a week ago or 60 years ago, why don't you let me know in the comments below. And other than that, guys, hey, I got the Go Vegan Stranger Things shirt out for, you know, the fall, Halloween kind of spooky time of year. Stranger Things is coming back on Netflix, and I can't wait to watch that. You know, go over to my web store and pick up one of my shirts. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and share this video. It helps me out a lot, and I thank you for your support. Other than that, stay safe, watch out for zombies, and I'll see you guys in the next video.